Welcome, everyone. It's Contagious Games, episode 12 of the Podtagious podcast. I am Pete. With me is Todd and Matt.
Hello.
Oh,
So, what have we got today, Todd?
Well, actually, I'm gonna open up with something a little unimportant, and then we'll jump onto a couple subjects you got. But this is interesting. They've added for Aliens Colonial Marines, which I thought would never surface again due to its epic failure. They're actually looking at extended DLC and adding some trophies to it. And with all the flack that gamers give, if something has that sort of, I don't know, some sort of bad connotation to it, would it even be worth for the company to put out its DLC? I know you guys haven't played it, but you guys have read plenty about how much of an epic failure it is.
Yeah, and we've heard plenty from you about how
Yeah.
epic failure it is.
So, well, yeah. So I find it interesting that they're even trying to put or even hinting at possibly putting the DLC out, which I just think it's interesting because if the game is that much of a failure, should you really pump out the DLC?
I don't even see why they would bother with it because of how much the internet hated it and their supposed fans hated it. But I guess there is a few. Well, every game has a few hardcore people that like it, so they'll make their money there. But is there enough hardcore fans that it would be profitable for what they have to spend in time of developing the crap for?
Well, and that kind of it's interesting because I kind of wish Kyle was here because what is it on the Wii U? There's the Zombie U game, right? The one that has the really silly cover with the one English. What do you call those guards? The Queen's guards on the cover. That was a really popular game for Wii U users. They really liked it. It was one that they enjoyed, and it sold so poorly that they're not going to make a sequel. So
That's
and it was
Nintendo, though.
well, I know, but that's interesting because that kind of reflects on how bad the Wii U should be doing. You know, if a game that actually was one that was well received by its user base wasn't enough to make a money. And same with Call of Duty. There's no DLC for Call of Duty on the Wii U.
They pumped those out so much that I think they stopped with the DLC and they just figured, you know what, we'll just turn it into the next Call of Duty. Because of how
Probably.
fast they're coming out. Like, DLC has stopped for them.
Well, if you had that license, Pete, I think you would probably want to pump out as much as you can.
I
as
would
fast as
bleed that thing dry. That's basically a money printing machine for them. So why would they stop?
You'd be begging Xbox to make their change back to the 24 hours a day online system just so you could sell content 24 hours a day. You want your update? That'll be 99 cents. Thank you.
I would make 5 guns and just pump those out every week. 5 different guns. There's enough guns out there you could just fill up a game with them.
Well, you just give them a new paint job. It's the exact same gun with a new name.
You could do that. Counter-Strike actually had that. Back when I played it in beta, you would be able to go and download it from someone, and it would be the same exact gun as everyone else. Didn't shoot any harder. It was just skinned differently. You'd have one that was like painted in cobalt blue, and you thought you were so awesome, or solid gold.
Well, you are awesome. It's like the orcs mentality, where if you paint it red, it's shootier. So that's exactly what it is. Yours is cobalt blue.
It's cobalt blue. You're just better with it.
Yep. It aims better in your mind. Lovely.
Even if you suck with that gun, you're just awesome.
People are like, man, he's got the cobalt blue gun. Sweet. All right, so I think you had a couple of subjects, Pete.
Mainly, I just had a few of them that I've been playing on the iPad recently, and they had their 5-year anniversary, and so I was able to download Badland and Sorcery and Infinity Blade 2 for free, which is always nice. So I've been playing with these games, and they're quite interesting. Badland is a game where it's kind of like you're all in dark and you jump around and you float through mazes. Is what I've been experiencing so far, and it's got a lot of interesting things for game design aspects.
So is it kind of like Limbo, where you have the shadowy?
Yeah, it's exactly like
Okay.
Limbo, except that the background's a bit brighter, and there's very nice like backgrounds in this game. But the art style is totally like Limbo. It's all shadowed out, and you have to just jump around, make your way through mazes and stuff like that.
So does it work like the Jetpack Joyride, where you just tap the button and the guy floats up? Is that
Yeah,
the deal? Okay.
it's exactly the deal.
I'm watching a video, but I just wanted to make sure I got it right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, there's multiplayer too, but I haven't done it yet. And Sorcery is an 8-bit RPG, and I haven't experienced much of it so far, but it's kind of funny just reading through the few character advancements that I have done, getting through talking to other characters and stuff like that, or NPCs in the game. There was a woodsman I came across that said he would lead me up the trail, but he wasn't happy about it. He did not want to do it.
I remember that game getting great reviews. I just never had a chance to play it. So,
It's very 8-bit, but it's
but
done.
its art style is rather unique, even though it is 8-bit.
Yeah, it is. And Infinity Blade 2, of course, it's made by Epic Games, and in Unreal, it's pretty awesome. It's very pretty. It's a total hack and slash, which I enjoy those type of games immensely. And this game is a game Kyle would fail at, and I wish I'm sure he would do great at the hack and slash part. But there is so many things that you have to notice in your perception, and Kyle has terrible perception that he would just tank at this game.
Well, maybe there's a dev play involved in that.
Making Kyle play Infinity Blade and just missing all the stuff that you see in your perception.
Actually, that's why Kyle isn't here, because he's completely dumbfounded by Infinity Blade 2. He's playing it right now as well.
this one thing I like about this game, even though you move through it and it's pretty much, hit A, play movie clip, hit A, play movie clip, or tap the screen since it's on the iPad, and then you do your hack and slash bar by swiping your fingers across the screen. I like that they give you a part where you can actually look around while you're moving in these movie clips.
Oh, okay.
So even though it's playing, you're able to search around a room and click on things and get them rather than it just being a hold the camera steady. That's
So do
kind
you rotate the iPad around to look around, or do you swipe your finger a
you
little bit?
just swipe your finger.
Okay.
That'd be kind of weird if you had to rotate and stuff. I'm sure they could do that with a accelerometer in the iPad, but
Yeah, some games do that. Several 3DS games do that. They let you use a D-pad and or rotate the 3DS around. So I was just curious.
one thing that's interesting about Infinity Blade, though, is you'll just be going along on these trails that are obviously set up for you to follow. And then they're like, nope, you can't go any further because they place this hard ass boss there that you'll be like level 19 and this boss is 75. Yeah, good luck. Have fun trying to beat it. You're not gonna. Like one hit kills you, and it's so stupid. Like, really, they really want you to have to fight over and over again.
So I don't know about the sequel. The original one, I was informed that basically you replay the same game over and over and over again. So do you
Seems to
level up?
Yeah, you level up and stuff, and
Okay.
each time you say you fight one of these really hard bosses and you die, you wake up again and you go through all of what you just did, but a different doorway will be opened up that you can go down that way instead.
Oh, okay. So maybe you just have to level up to the point you can go conquer that
Yeah,
beast.
and then I'm sure there'll be an even harder one at the end of that.
Oh, sure. When you reach level 79, there'll be a 108 level creature.
Yeah, standing somewhere.
Lovely.
But that game is beautiful. Like they did a very good job at making this. And You can totally tell it's in Unreal, and it's definitely made by Epic because the guys in it, their armor is just outrageous,
Hmm.
big and clunky and very nice looking.
Like if you could give armor steroids.
Yes. Like there's a I have the Halo 4 art book, and there's a part in there where they have Master Chief, and he's got these huge shoulder pads on,
Oh,
and like all of his gear, just his chest guard is just huge. And they actually have a quote from one of the artists in there, and it says the Epic Games look.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought that was great.
I'm sure they all those art directors know each other. It would be really funny if they actually like licensed an Unreal Tournament or one of these games just to have Master Chief, but if he was actually built in the testos or the over steroid armor, jacked up on testosterone. It would be kind of funny to like to actually have it, but not as like a story-driven character, but just kind of like a fun thing to put in the game.
Yeah, I'm sure they could put that up for like DLC and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That'd be
Of
great.
course, with Microsoft holding the property, I don't know. Well,
Yeah,
I don't know how friendly they would be, but it would be entertaining.
it would be.
Maybe, yeah, maybe we could hold out for a Soul Calibur version.
You hear that 343? Get on
Yeah,
it.
I'll just walk over there tomorrow and I'll tell them,
Yeah.
Mr. Gates, you're going to give me full right to do what I want. I'll get thrown out, or the cops will get called on me. One of the two.
I'm sure it'll probably be both.
Yeah, probably.
Make sure you don't try to call anyone when you're in their building. They have a
Oh,
cell.
jeez. Yeah, I know. I got to hear their screaming at the testers. I got to hear that whole speech, even though I wasn't going to be a tester. So I know all about it. They said yes, if you lose your badge or if you open up this door, the police will show up, or we have armed guards on campus and they'll be here immediately. So don't even try to open up this door unless it's a major emergency. And everybody's like, cool. And the guy's like, I told you not to open up the door. Like they're all like thinking like, oh man, one of these days I'm gonna open up that door, I'm gonna have armed guards show up. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Anyways. All right. So, anything else with Infinity Blade?
Nothing more with Infinity Blade. It's just my experiences with those so far.
You enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear more about the sorcery,
Yeah,
sword
I
and
haven't
sorcery.
gotten much into that one yet, but I plan to play it a bit more to experience it.
So, as I was mentioning to Pete before the podcast, I just finished East Book 1 and 2 on the TurboGrafx, so I'm taking a huge step back in time because I had heard great things about the
A
games
major
and
step back in time.
major step back. In fact, some people don't even know what a TurboGrafx CD is. So that's not only a giant step for mankind, that is a step into the unknown, which is entertaining. So I want to say that it is an old RPG, but I want to talk about some of its design elements because I thought they had some interesting choices. It really wouldn't fly for gamers today, but one of the things is the combat. When I first booted it up, I expected a role-playing game. So usually, when you bump into an enemy, it goes into the like Pokemon styled or old original Final Fantasy. Like I attack this guy, and I take my turn, and then he attacks me, and then we go back and forth until somebody's dead. Instead, what happens is that when you walk into an enemy, your combat and their combat, your defense is calculated instantly. So it's kind of like you just bump into people and eventually they die or they kill you. So it's interesting because when you think about it, it speeds up the process of let's say rolling the die or making the attack and then making the defense and then going back and forth, back and forth. So originally I was really frustrated because I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? This isn't what I'm expecting. But it actually kind of works. But you can see what I mean. It's kind of an old style. And can you imagine gamers today? They boot up Final Fantasy and they like walk into somebody. It's all ding, 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 and then they die. people would have a heart attack. They don't get their little battle system. So,
Yeah.
um, it works. Like it's weird, it's old, but I actually think it works out for me. It kind of speeds that process up, I feel.
It
And there's
it works, but it doesn't give you the satisfaction of like knowing you beat that person. It's just like you kept bumping into him and hoped that your attack and defense were good enough that until
Well,
to
they have at the
ultimate.
bottom of the screen, they do have a health bar, and they also have your experience, and those are both enemy health bar and your health bar and your experience. The entire game, like it doesn't go away. So
Yeah, but you do not get to see the action, and so that's kind of weird.
it is kind of weird. I'm telling you, it works. Though, if you sit down and you play it, it's really weird because it's not what you expect,
Yeah, there's
but
just
it
a lot
does
of
work.
people out there that like to see that action.
Well, yeah, and actually, I would like it to be more like Zelda and have a sword that you swing. In my opinion, would be ultimate. But the core of the game is more about solving puzzles and finding things, kind of locating stuff for your adventure. So, and the music, I have to say, is superb. I was blown away because, of course, it is CD audio, but it still was, really, it's like basically your 8-bit music, but written on higher end equipment. So it's actually really enjoyable. Um, a couple of the things that I, we even get it in games today. There's a couple of really bad backtracking things that I just had to ask myself why are they making me backtrack so far? They have like a tower with 26 stories to it. You get right up to the boss's door, and then you don't have the key. You can't get in, and then you got to go all the way down to like level 13 and find some jerk off that will give you a key, and then you go back. So sometimes I ask myself, I know it's old game design, and they are allowed to have the old game design because it was 1989. But I kind of ask myself, like, why do we have the going back?
That's
And that
just a time and commitment saver for the game team.
yeah,
Team.
pretty much. It's like, well, they can just walk all the way back halfway through this thing. Well, Halo did it, right? You had to go
There's
back and
plenty of times
forth.
in every game, any game that I've played from back in the day to now, they have that mechanic in there at some point where you get up to somewhere and then you find out you need something, you have to go all the way back to
All the
somewhere
way
else.
back. It was a little bit better with book two because they gave you a wand that allowed you to teleport from some of the cities. So
Recall.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So that kind of helps out. But anyways, I did enjoy it, and I can see why people enjoy it. It had kind of an interesting story. It's a light story, but it's deep at the same time, if that makes sense. You don't sit there through pages and pages and pages of text, but it still has a nice little story to it. And of course, all of the audio recorded back then were just by people who had no talent, so the English voices are like the worst. It's almost as bad as Resident Evil voices. That's where it lies. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. So now I'm on East 3, which is a side-scrolling game. It's like Zelda 2 must have come out at that time era because they decided to change it up. So not, it's a role-playing game, but you're hack and slash side-scroller
You
role-playing
mean
game.
Zelda: A Link to the Past? You're gonna get a bunch of internet nerds pissed off if you don't call it
Well, it is the crappiest of all the Zelda games, so internet
that.
nerds can get angry. It shouldn't even be called a Zelda game. They should have come out and said, Miyamoto should have come out and said, I'm sorry, we're going to officially declare this with a different title from now on. They apologized with A Link to the Past, which was a great apology. Anyway, so let's see. I'm trying to think of the other games. Oh, another old SSI role playing game. I was trying to toy with the ideas of with all of these games, these role playing games. How do you avoid grinding? And I guess that would be a good little mini discussion if you
It's
quick
unavoidable.
brainstorm. What's that?
It's almost unavoidable.
It's almost unavoidable. Well, some things can scale so that no matter where you are, the enemies scale to your level. But at that point, is it even worth leveling? Because if you level up, the enemies level up. If that makes sense. So, like in a way, you're level 2 now, but all the other enemies are level 2. You're level 3, but all the other enemies are level 3. So, like, what's the difference of just being at level 1 and never having any level up? If that makes sense. Because you're always the same. It always bumps everything. The other thing was that a lot of the old SSI role playing games dealt more with kind of the puzzles of the dungeon and exploring, and it didn't really matter that if you were level 99 or level 1. It was more about kind of the quest, I guess. But those are really old, archaic, like Commodore and DOS games, so I don't think anybody could handle them now.
Well, the other trick is to really have enough content in there that even if the player has to grind, they don't really know they're grinding, or they don't mind it so much because the content is engaging.
They should also set it up so that a playthrough, like the quickest playthrough possible, you shouldn't have to do hardly any grinding. Like usually when you kill a boss, they have a certain amount of experience points that they give you, and they could use those as a checkpoint where when you kill a boss, let's say you're supposed to get 2,500 experience points, but your character is heavily under-leveled for that point in the game. They should just scale it up, and it's like, oh, now you got 20,000 experience points because you're so far behind.
That could
And
also throw the game out of whack with other enemies and stuff, though.
well,
To get them to match you and stuff like that.
I do feel if you're going to, let's say, at a boss, give the experience points, it would be a checkpoint that would only look to see if your character was too weak at that. If you were like leveled up beyond some just atrocious amount because you sat there and grinded it at the very beginning of the game till you had a level 99 character, you would just get a minor amount of experience points. But it would basically balance your character for the next section. I don't think it would be too bad. I think it might help out, or it should be an option. Maybe there should be hardcore modes or grind mode where things are balanced to the point that you have to sit there and kill thousands and thousands of enemies. And I'm not talking about MMOs, by the way. I want to clarify that MMOs make their money because you will sit there and you want to grind. But for a standard role playing game, I don't know. There's got to be ways around it, more balance.
Yeah, like World of Warcraft, even though it is an MMO, and they have plenty of grinding in that game, make you fall asleep. But they have things called gear checks, which they don't officially announce that these are actual things, but you can tell it totally is. Like a boss, if your team you roll around with your guild, if you can't defeat these bosses, then the rest of the instance or raid that you're in, you will not be able to continue through because
Okay.
they just go up harder from there. So they'll have one boss that is basically known as he has a lot of hit points. He
Yeah.
doesn't do much else for mechanics, and if you can't defeat him, well, you're not going to be able to take on the rest of the raid because you're under geared and stuff. So you have to go out there and do more stuff, or you have to grind again. But yeah, it's basically the same concept.
Yeah. Similar concept. They just want to keep there. They want you to grind,
Yeah.
make them some more money. Yeah. And the other thing is changing up any game type for a modern audience is going to be a problem because people don't like general gamer out there understands grinding. They understand getting a number to increase. And if you tried to do something unique or very different with their classic system, I think it would get attacked on the internet as being like the worst thing ever. So it's kind of
Change
tough.
scares people.
Yeah, I know it's terrible. It's like, well, you're a gamer. You should enjoy something a little bit different. Apparently not. You want to just grind. That's all role playing games are for you is grinding. That's all you want. So I don't know. So I actually would like to. I have a pile of older RPGs that I need to get through, but I would like to. In your opinion, what besides MMOs, what do you think is the best RPG of modern day?
Modern day. Uh, well, it's technically an RPG. It's probably Borderlands 2 is my favorite right now. I love the humor in those games, and it's pretty engaging. Even if you do have to grind at some point because you can't access an area or whatever, you have to grind through a bunch of quests. It's still entertaining.
How about you, Matt?
Skyrim.
The
Skyrim is also
Skyrim.
great.
Yep.
So Skyrim's kind of interesting because you have a bit of an action element to it. I know that some of the role-playing games have the action elements, but you're physically walking around and trying to conquer the environment. And I think that kind of helps a little bit because if you're a little underpowered with a level and you're pretty good at dodging things and you're skilled in your uh, physical action combat, then it kind of balances out a little bit. You can actually push your character a little bit farther than he should be, if that makes sense. And I guess Borderlands would be the same thing.
Yeah, Borderlands is pretty much the same way. Where even if you can't take on, like, say, some enemy that's further on down, you can literally sit there and if you go at him face to face, you can't take him on. You could sit there and just pot shot him until you get him dead,
Yeah,
which would take a while, but
but you could do it.
it's the same with Skyrim. You can do that too. Skyrim's also different because you not only does it have levels, but you increase your skills as you fight and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So even if you weren't able to kill something, and they're like the giants, they're they
Oh, the giants that the
yeah
physics throws you way, way
yeah
off in
they
the
just
middle of
launch you
nowhere.
into the sky if they get up to
Ah.
you, but they're really slow. So you can literally just train them, like kite them around and shoot your bow at them and raise your bow skill that way, and you can get away from that. You could go back to wherever you were and take on the people then and be able to kill them and pass that checkpoint or whatever that you wanted to get through.
So what's sad is that I have both of those games. I don't know when I'll get to them, but I have them. So how about more classic role-playing games with the kind of more turn-based, more Final Fantasy styled? Have either of you played any of those modern ones?
Modern ones,
Yeah.
I
Yet
haven't
again,
played.
avoiding MMOs. I know
I
you guys.
haven't played a turn-based game in a while.
Me neither.
Okay, so no discussion on that. That'll be for the internet dweebs to
The
attack each
last
other.
the last turn-based game I played was probably Final Fantasy One.
Lovely. So, any other topics for the day?
I am all tapped out for topics.
How
I got
about you, Matt?
nothing.
You got
Matt,
nothing.
Matt never has anything. We should know this.
It's true.
How's Puppy Hunt coming along, Matt?
It's fun.
Excellent.
He's been working on Steve's shield. Steve
Yeah.
made a very nice shield. It's actually very well done. But the rotating part, it like rotated. I don't think it's gonna work.
I see.
But we can still use it as a static background.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I'm about 35% done with the boss, the final boss.
Cool. So it's coming along.
Yeah, it's coming along.
You got to get it released before the new Xbox comes out. The
November.
Xbox One in November.
so
It's not that far off.
so if we get it released like the 1st of November and the Xbox One probably comes out around Thanksgiving, we'll be able to get our sales in.
Possibly. All you can hope for is that they can't actually get enough Xbox Ones to the consumer base, and so people will still be playing games and they'll need something to download.
I am sure they will have someone will do the short sale bullshit and cause a clog somewhere. They always do that just to cause demand.
Yeah. Uh, just one last question, I guess. Do you guys feel that the height and excitement for the PS4 and the Xbox One, do they equal, rival, or are they underdone from the last gen's release, which would be the Xbox 360 and the PS3? Like, is the hype? Is there just as much hype? Is there more hype? Are people more excited? Or are they less excited?
I think it's pretty much the same, but I remember
Yeah.
when the PS3 came out, the hype was there, and then everyone got to experience the PS3 and its problems, and they just disappeared. The hype was gone instantly. And I remember walking into Best Buy and just seeing shelves lined with PS3s, and they couldn't even give those things away for free.
Lovely. So I wonder if we'll have a well, actually we shouldn't, because the biggest problem with the PS3 was late from the Xbox. So all the games on the Xbox were on the PS3. It's like all those games that were good games that were already out. They're like a year old or half a year old. So anyways, I don't think we'll have that problem this time around, because I don't think the Wii U has any major titles that are pressing that we'll see on the other machines.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully they'll fix their updating.
yeah.
Doubt it.
Yeah, really.
I still have people tell me that the PlayStation 3's updates take no time at all. I'm like, how?
I
What?
I actually managed to play my older brother's PS3 when I visited him in Texas. I got to play about 20 minutes of Tomb Raider. I was shocked that it didn't have to update when I turned it.
Oh gosh. Well, the last update bricked some systems, which I
Nice.
let me tell you, here's a problem with Sony. When they brick your system, if you have a backwards compatible system, you get a newer one. They don't. Your system's bricked, so they don't give you like a backwards compatible equivalent, which can make you really, if you're somebody like me who cares about playing older games, you're really upset when
Yeah,
you get a bricked, your bricked system comes back and it's like, oh, it's not the same thing. Thank you.
like that's what Microsoft was doing with the Xboxes. When they would break, they would send them in, and then you'd get someone else's Xbox
Yeah,
back.
you at least got to keep the hard drive, and there wasn't the different backwards
Yeah.
compatibility issue, but yeah, you would get somebody else's refurbished Xbox. All right, so I think, Matt, it's time for you to sign us out.
Yep.
This is Contagious Games. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye bye.